Alright, so here we are with the 10-2 notes on frequency and histograms. So we are going to create stem and leaf plots, and then we're also going to create frequency tables and from those histograms. Alright, so a stem and leaf plot arranges data by dividing each data value into two parts, and this allows you to see each data value. So it's kind of like listing them from least to greatest, and also kind of like a bar graph, but on its side. So, for instance, if we take a look at this example, we've got temperature in degrees Celsius. And so what this set here is telling you is that the number 7 is one of the degrees. 19 was also a degree. 22, 23, 26, 27, and 28 were also recorded. And then also 30. So this whole row is 30, 31, 31, 32, 34, 35, 36. So that's the idea here, and of course every time you make one of these you're going to need a key to kind of tell people what's happening. So if we go ahead and try making one, the number of defective widgets in batches of 1,000 are given below. Ooh, and we're going to use the data to make a stem and leaf plot. So we do need a title, it's always nice, so we've got number of defective widgets, and we'll just say per, because I'm not going to write in batches, 1,000. So, as we saw in the previous one, we're going to make kind of this tree branch, if you will, and we are going to leave space for a key. Oops, that was supposed to be an eraser. And so one of the options is going to be 14, for instance, and so I'm going to have the 1 over on one side and the 4 on the other is 14. Alright, so to make this work, we do need to go through and find all of, for instance, the single digits. So the single digits are going to start with a 0 in the tens place, but then they'll have an 8, a 9, and another 8 and 9. So going in order, we have 8, 8, then 9, then 9. After that, we'll go into the teens. So we've got 12. Looks like that's the lowest teen value. So 1 for the tens, and then 2. And then we have 2 13s, so 3 and 3. Then there's a 14 and a 15, and a 19. And then for the 20s, we have a 20 and a 21. Anytime you're doing these types of graphs, you always want to double check that how many digits you were given is how many are in your table or represented. So let's see, 3, 6, 9, 12 digits were given, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 were written down. So this entire set right here is our stem and leaf plot. Alright, so two data sets in a stem and leaf plot. This is an interesting one. Basically, you're going to have a center trunk more, and then one data set is going to go off in this direction as it would, and then another set is going to go off in that direction. So, taking a look at what we're given here, we've got quite a few digits. We've got 60s, 50s, 40s, 70s, oh, and a 30. So we're going to have to go 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s within our chart. The title would have been Season Scores for a football team. And then from there we can go ahead and put them in. So Team A, for instance, I'll go ahead and make those green coming off of this stem. Oh, sorry, blue. That's the color blue. Let's see. There are no 30s in the first one, but there is a 42 and a 42 and a 5 and a 9. So 2, 2, 5, and 9. Then from there we've got some 50s, so 55, 56, and 58. And then our 60s are 61 and 65. And then our last one is 72. And again, double check that we have, let's see, 10 data sets here and 10 data points there. All right, continuing on with Team B. Let's see, they have a 37. You are going to go from least here to greatest out here, just as we reference this. So 37 is done. Let's see, we've got 48 and 9. Oh, 2 8s. So 48, 8, and 49. So it's kind of drawn in like a mirror way of how you would have done it on the other side. So we've got 2 as the first digit in 50, and then 7, and then 8. And then, let's see, 60, 61, and a 63. And then that's all of those. 10 digits. All right. We also want to double check that we understand the key. And so we're going to say, for instance, that let's see. This represents 60 for Team B, and then we'll say that this represents 65. Okay. So again, that one's a little opposite of what you would think, just because 60 is in this case read backwards, because we want to kind of have that center on the tens values there. All right. I don't know why we have to make so many stem and leaf plots, but here we go. All right. Next one. Need a title. Temperature in degrees Celsius for 2 weeks would be our title. We do have a 0 value, so 7 there. We got some teens, 20s, and 30s. And then we can go ahead and put those values in. So let's see, we have a 7. And then for the teens, we have a 19, that's it. And 20s, we have 26, 7, so 2, 6, 7, or 2, 3, 6, 7, and a 9. And then a bunch of 30s. So let's see, 30, 2 31s, a 32, and a 4, 5, and 6. Then again, just to be sure, let's see, we have 2 here, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 data points, and 14 here. And then, of course, we want our key. So our key tells us that 30 with a 0 here equals 30. All right, and then just to kind of reference what's happening here, if we were to look at this as like a histogram or a bar graph, kind of if you've turned it sideways here, you could definitely see that the tens or the ones would have not many data points. Tens have not many data points. The most happens in the 20s, but then also 30s. So if you're, for instance, kind of talking about the temperature, you would say it's more likely to be between in the 20s or 30s in this area, or over this set of 2 weeks. All right, so then we have frequency. Frequency just means the number of times that something occurs. So officially it's the frequency of a data value is the number of times it occurs or happens. And a frequency table, of course, takes those frequencies and puts them together. So it shows the frequency of each data value, and if the data is divided into intervals, the table shows those intervals as well. So a lot of times with frequency data, it's not just one thing, it's a range of objects that are then encompassing, in this case, for instance, vacation days. And apparently people on vacation from 4 to 6 days happened 5 times, and 7 to 9 days happened 4 times. Pretty 2-week vacation here only happened twice for, I don't know, people in a company. So we're going to make a frequency table. So again, it's going to look like this. It does tell us that the intervals we're going to have here, that we are going to have intervals, but we're talking about the numbers of students enrolled in Western Civilization class at a university, and we need to use the data to make a frequency table. It doesn't necessarily say what our frequency is going to be broken down into, so based on what I see, we may as well do 0 to 10. Well, actually, it's usually whole numbers that end or start, so 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 to 29, and 30 to 39. Oops, sorry, my cat is stepping on that. Little jelly beans. Okay, there we go. So we've got our frequency table, and so now we just need to potentially do tick marks for what we see. So for instance, we see a 12, put a mark here. 22 here, 18 goes here, 19 is in here, 25 in this range, 31 in this range, 28 over here, 19 here, 22 here, 27 also there, 32 here, and 14 here. Alright, so then what you would do, of course, in your frequency table is actually put the number of these values. So we are going to put that there was one number within 0 to 9. There are 4 from 10 to 19. 5 from 20 to 29. And 2 from 30 to 39.